Hey everyone, it's Daisy here and welcome back to my channel. I know, I've been gone for a little bit, but if you don't know, your girl has been busy. I have been all over the place, and as you can tell from the background, this is not my normal background. I'm currently on a travel assignment in another state, but I am on my off day, so I figured, why don't I make a video to follow up on my old video about becoming a nurse with a low GPA. Some people have asked me how my prereqs have been. Some people have asked me what did I do to actually get my first nursing job, and if you're one of those people who asked me this question, this video is for you. Like I said in my first video, when I graduated from my initial bachelor's program, I graduated with a 2.2 GPA. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But I ended up getting into nursing school and graduating with honors. I know I kind of skated past that whole experience, but I wanted to slow it down and tell you about the whole process of how I applied to the program, got into the program, made it through the program, because I know that's what a lot of people want to know. I graduated from college in, do I want to say when I graduated college? I'll say when I graduated college. So I graduated from college about 10 years ago. It took me a while to graduate college. I'm not gonna let y'all do the math. Let's just say I don't look my age. That's all you need to know. I took about a year off. When I took that time off, I was working at a hospital. I was working in an emergency department to kind of just, work in the healthcare field. I wanted to initially get into healthcare when I first graduated, but my GPA was too low, so that was the reason why I didn't. I remember I had a friend, she knows who she is. She is kind of the one who helped me with this process. She also was kind of in a similar situation as me. She took a little bit of time to graduate from college and she decided to go back to nursing school. So she said, Daisy, I'm going to nursing school. I feel like you can get into this nursing program as well. I took her advice. I was already working in an emergency department, so I already knew what it entailed to be working in a hospital setting. I was a secretary in the emergency department, so I saw a lot of things. I saw different things that nurses would do, and I tried to see behaviors that I wanted to entail in myself as a nurse. In this particular program, all I needed was 4 prereqs. All I needed was psych, statistics, AMP1, and English. So if you know anything about getting your bachelor's or even your associates, statistics, psych, and English are probably 3 of the classes that you need just to get through the program. And luckily for me, since it took me so long to graduate college, I was able to repeat it. Some schools, they won't allow you to repeat classes, but this particular program did. And I had never taken AMP before, or anatomy and physiology. I was able to repeat those 3 classes, which was AMP, psych, and statistics. And if you watch my video, you can already guess what those grades were. They weren't good. So it's by God's grace. It's God's grace that I was able to repeat those programs. And what I did, and a suggestion that I have for people, is to don't overload yourself. If you're working full time, don't overload yourself taking 4 or 5 classes at a time. I took 2 classes. I took 2 in the summer. I took 2 in the fall. And I was able to really focus on those 2 classes, and I aced them. It was really hard. I studied really hard. There's no other way. I studied really hard and I made all A's. So before I got into the program, I actually was able to get a 4.0 GPA with those 4 classes alone. Now, there were other classes that I needed to take to get into the program. One class in particular that I know that I struggled with was microbiology. Whew, microbiology, that class, you know what? You people who are good at chemistry, y'all got it. Y'all got it. Me, with microbiology, I could not do it. I tried so hard to get an A, even a B. I would have been okay with a B. I begged. I begged my teacher for at least a C+. That's how hard it was for me. With the 4 classes I did, I actually ended up getting into an honors program because of that. I got into an honor society. The honors program was Sigma Theta Tau. I got into that program. It just kind of lets you know that just because there's something that was delayed, it does not mean that it was denied. When I graduated with that 2.2 GPA and graduated by the skin of my teeth, that was just the prelude. I wasn't mentally prepared. I wasn't mentally ready for college. But by the time I got into nursing school and started taking the prereqs for nursing school, I was tunnel vision. I was ready to go. That actually reflected into my grades. When I first decided to apply for the program that I applied for, I made sure I applied very early. I think the opening day to apply was March 10th. I applied March 11th. I got all my transcripts together, made sure all my prereqs were together. I had all of my recommendation letters, and I presented it to the nursing office like, here you go. The lady said, good luck. I said, thank you. And I went on my merry way. I had to wait 6 weeks before I found out that I got into the program. And if you guys are familiar, if you graduated like in the last like 5-10 years or so, forums were it. Just like they have those Facebook groups, there was this one website called allnurses.com, everything nursing. So now they have Facebook forums and Facebook groups for situations like this, but back then there were no Facebook groups. So there was a site called allnurses.com, and I remember writing on the site like, hey, my GPA is only a 2.2. Do I have a chance of getting into nursing school? And everyone was like, no, you have to have at least a 3.7 to get into nursing school. They're never gonna accept you. I remember I was on this site every day. Oh my God, they said this, they said this. I was such a nerd, but you know what? When it's about your future and something that you really want to do, let you be a nerd. Nerds get into school. I was glad I was a nerd. This school in particular only accepted 32 applicants. I was one of the 32 that got in. I remember when I came home, I saw the letter in the mail, and the letter felt a little thick. It didn't feel like, you know, just one letter that said like, we regret to inform you. It felt a little thick. I opened the letter, rushed home from work, opened the letter, read the first line like, we are pleased to inform you. I dropped to my knees. Started crying, called my parents like, oh my God, I got into nursing school. I was so hyped. I couldn't even believe it because I felt like everything that I had gone through before I got into nursing school, all the hardship that I had gone through before I got into nursing school, in that moment, it all felt worth it. I was so happy. I was ready to start. About 2 months later, I had my orientation, and during that orientation, they have your interview where they kind of try to feel you out, see how you are going to be as a student. I remember I had to present my transcripts, and when I talked to the advisor, I said, you know, I know my GPA from my other degree wasn't great. And the lady said, we know, we saw the growth. So we acknowledge that, and we know a lot of people aren't ready for college when they first get in. So we understand the growth. And I was just like, I was so glad that she realized I was not the same dumb 18, 19-year-old. But at this time, a few years had passed, so there had been growth in my personality, there had been growth in my way of studying, so that was good too. So fast forward to when I got into nursing school. It's always important to have a core group of friends or a core study group because you can bounce ideas off each other. You guys can learn from each other. Some people may answer questions differently than others. Some people may have a different mindset than others. So it's kind of good to see a rationale for why, you know, they have different thought processes when it came to answering questions. And that helped me a lot when I was in school. My first semester was fundamentals in nursing. And those fundamental classes were ridiculous. It was kind of like I was so terrified of failing, but at the same time, I was like excited to be there. Once I started clinical, I was like, this is great. And then my first clinical experience, I was like, I hate nursing. I remember my first patient, oh my God. My first patient was a mess. My first patient was a mess. And I remember thinking, wow, this is really hard. But I had to act like this wasn't fazing me. It was a very interesting experience. Without giving out too much HIPAA, let's just say this. This patient made me think, wow, what did I sign up for? And then the next week, I guess because the teacher thought that I was more confident or I knew what I was doing, she gave me an even tougher patient. That week, I went home and I cried. And I said to my mom, why did I even go to nursing school? Why am I here? My mom's looking at me like, Daisy, what's wrong with you? Honestly, clinicals were a beast. Since I was in a program where the classes were at night, I worked full-time in the day. I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go to work. Then I would go to clinical or class from like 5 to 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So I was literally running on fumes at least 5 days a week. By the time I got to clinical, I was over it. I was over the day and it was just too much for me. So that was my first semester. The second semester, that was really when med surge, when the real meat and potatoes came in, and I was very stressed out that semester. That semester was rough. I mean, it was rough. It was a hard semester, but they were basically like, this is where real nursing comes from. Tried as hard as I could. Again, clinicals still were garbage, but you know, I didn't take the experience as, oh, okay, you know, every nurse is gonna be nice, every nurse is gonna take us under their wing, because they didn't. They literally ignored us. It was not a good experience for me. We kind of had to figure it out, where it came to our care plans or where it came to us taking care of the patients. We would ask the nurses things and they would act like they couldn't be bothered. Make sure you have a good rapport with your clinical instructor, because they will save you, and you're working under their license, so it's kind of important to have a good rapport with your clinical instructor. My third semester, ooh, child. My third semester. My third semester was almost the one that took me out. Backtrack. I was in an associate's degree program. So the associate's degree program is 4 semesters. It's fall, spring, fall, spring. So that's why I'm talking about it in semesters as opposed to years. There's always one class that just kind of takes everybody out. This third semester was one that took everybody out. It was tough. It was tough. I remember my first 2 exams, I failed them both. Oh, the 2 exams were psychology and pediatrics. My pediatric exam, I thought that I got a 96. I was like, I felt so confident. I felt so confident in my responses, in my grade and everything like that. I was like, I know I aced this test. So imagine my surprise when the 96 was backwards. I was devastated. I was like, oh my God. And that was the second test. I had already failed the first one. And then the second one, I failed that too. I was definitely freaking out. I knew that I needed to pass my next exam and my final in order to stay in the program, or I'd be kicked out. By the grace of God, again, by His grace, I ended up getting a 87 on my next exam. And I was very happy. I was happy with my results. And then the next exam, I needed an 80 to pass. That was the final. And I got an 82. and I barely passed that third semester, but guess what? C's get degrees, so I passed. But it honestly, that class took out maybe 2/3 of the program. That's how rough. Every program has a weeder class. That was our weeder class. And then the fourth semester, I think, was my personal favorite because that was OB, maternity, critical care. Those were all things I wanted to get into. Before I even became a nurse, I knew I wanted to do something that was like acute care, high intensity, high stress environment, because I kind of love that. My first clinical on OB, I actually fell in love. I had a C-section. I just remember standing there in the C-section, standing in the corner. You know, when you're a nursing student, you're scared of everything. So I remember standing there in the corner and being super shy, super scared, but I was really trying to watch to see what was going on. But once the baby came out and the first cry, and I saw the father of the baby just start crying, I started tearing up. I was like, this is really amazing. I think my next clinical, the next week, I stayed on postpartum, and I had an amazing postpartum nurse who actually took me under her wing. She would ask me questions, and she really helped and guided me with the program. She really helped and guided me with the clinical, and I will be forever appreciative of her. She was right about to go on maternity leave. She was like 8.5 months pregnant. I wish I remembered her name, but she's literally the person who helped me like find my love in OB. I remember I took my OB exam. I passed. Great. That was my second A of the semester. I ended up getting a 91 on that exam. I was so hyped. I was so excited. I ended up graduating with honors because, you know, that's how we do. I passed my boards about 2 months later with 75 questions, which I don't know if that's like the standard anymore, but I was just happy I passed. Whether I passed with 265, how it used to be, or if I passed with 75 questions, I was happy that I passed. That was kind of my nursing school journey, you know, where I got to. Now I'm a travel nurse and basically saving lives all across the country. To that person who said, "You'll never be a nurse with a 2.2 GPA. I hope this video gives somebody some kind of encouragement, some kind of guidance, lets you know that just a lot of hard work and perseverance, studying all the time in the library, you literally have no life. Just make sure you study really hard, make sure you really focus and take everything day by day, week by week. Remember your end goal. Just remember your end goal. I hope this video helps somebody, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.